Ewa na ewa, don't me more. Mama, Panama, don't be mad, don't be mad, don't be mad, don't be mad, don't be
Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Let's start this. Good evening, good evening. So I want to welcome our viewers and listeners across the globe. This is a special edition of the Examiner. Examiner usually comes on Sunday, but this is a special edition, and we're going to have a different type of conversation. I'm privileged, I'm honored because we have to get in the business of making the young generation how they see things, their innovations, their involvement, what I want to see happening in their country. He was a student in Morocco. We're going to get to that. And later on, his determination, his convictions, decided to go further to know and prepare himself. I went to South Africa, being attending a series of seminars, and now he's back home to give in a special, unique way. Folks, good evening. Welcome. This is Afonso Zienso, keeping news fair, balanced, and proportional. Welcome to the show, and let's get a ball rolling right here, right now. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending your locations. I am your lead host, Afonso Zienso, right here. Before I get this program on the way, we want to say our DPS condolences to one of our primetime followers, not just on the followers, deeply involved into national conversation here, expressing her views and opinion at all times. Our prayers and thought goes out on behalf of the management and staff of the Liberia Public Radio to Mr. and Mrs. Clark. Esther, daughter, passed away. Our understanding that was last Saturday. It's very painful. We're going to be coming to that, and we will do everything possible to reach out. But let me go into the West African state of the Republic of Liberia. A young, brilliant, smart, intelligent, innovative man war for his country. When will we retire these old folks to give the young generation the time dealing with the 21st century? Let me bring in Mr. Scholar. He's a young scholar. John Singbae III is joining me from the West African state of the Republic of Liberia. Let me do something here quickly here. Okay, and so that the names, everything going to be displayed here. Okay. My dear young man, good morning. Welcome. Good to have you here. How many years now? 2, 3?
Thank you. So, and good morning to you, and good evening, it's nighttime here in Liberia, and for my colleagues also in South Africa and other parts of the world, it should be midnight. But good morning to you, Mr. So. Yes, it's been quite a minute. I think we had series of conversations when you were supporting our advocacies in the Kingdom of Morocco. That was about 3 years ago. You are right. It was 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Wow, time fast spent.
Yeah, it's been, to be honest.
Unbelievable. We're going to get to the subject of the conversation, and if all goes well, your voice will more or less will echo here. Now, I believe with a little time, that's another way of giving back to the community. Let's take a little bit backdrop here. We're going to get to the substance of the conversation yet. Morocco, because when it was happening, when we got connected, and people were saying, "Oh, let the children go by. Oh, they're not doing that. What they're doing that?" And judgment, people were rendering judgment. They're not even going to school. They're not doing this. This is the sort of concept of within our Liberian society of passing judgment without even asking questions, without knowing what they are. And so I am proud of you and many others. We're still in contact from Morocco to South Africa. You will give the rest of the story. Now, if we are listening to some of these noise makers and just render a conclusion, all the children in Morocco, they're not doing anything. Let them go by. The government are paying what they're doing there, say. I don't know what dividends it was brought to the country, considering the conversation that is about to unfold here. But give for a little bit, quick run through here from Morocco to South Africa. Why did he go do that?
Thank you, Mr. So. You know the story better, but for our viewers, we were in Morocco. We were sent there by the Liberian government on the Liberia-Morocco bilateral scholarship, and we signed a memorandum of understanding not to reopen old stories, but it became very, very, very complicated, and things were going out of hands, and we had to engage in. You're quite correct. There were people at the hierarchy of government who were like, let the students come home. The plane is available. We're not going to pay that money. You people can come home if you like. If you want to be there, you can take care of yourself there while you're there. So as I said, yeah, so when you raise a very important point, then I'm reflecting on how what would have happened if myself was going to return, but not just about me, but the 100 students who are currently in countries with master's degree from Morocco. Some of whom are medical doctors, some of whom are nurses, some of whom are economists, some of whom are here today contributing to our development. Imagine how it was going to be a big blow for our country that we had an opportunity from the Moroccan government and we were ready to send our students back only because we're not able to prioritize education. So it's very unfortunate that we had to reach that discussion, part of our national politics. But I think it's an opportunity for current leaders to learn, and we know we can do better if we learn from our past. that you don't just consider education as an instant thing. It's a process, but it's obviously a process that's going to lead to dividends. So today, like you said, I left Morocco after my studies. I was privileged to receive a scholarship from the Mandela Rose Foundation, which is one of the legacy of President Nelson Mandela. So they select leaders from all across Africa every year. It's actually the most prestigious scholarship on the continent. So I was selected for that scholarship, went to South Africa, Cape Town. I was enrolled in the best university in Africa, the University of Cape Town, to study international law, to follow my studies. And I was also undertaking intensive leadership development training by the principles of Nelson Mandela, the chief patron of the institution. So I was trained there in leadership and reconciliation, education, just driving change in community, not just having the idea of the education. But then I was also trained as an international lawyer. So I had a training as an international lawyer. And what we're about to talk here, I hope I will have the opportunity to explain how I got passionate about the law of the sea and ocean in general. But it's really a long story. But for now, it's been a journey that I can sit and reflect on today. Like you said, like you were very, very, very critical. People like you at that point in time were just students, just young. We're very young. We had not even done anything. We're just transitioning from the French school. And I don't know if you now sitting where you're sitting and knowing the story that as you do, you're one of the presidents who could have just said, this is just one young people should just come back to the country. But if you said now, I guess when you see all of the students who came from that particular situation, I guess you stand as a proud father and say, yes, indeed, I contributed to a very great cause and I stood my ground. And that, I think, is a very patriotic duty any citizen of Liberia can do. And we're extremely proud of you and the platform and how you supported us in the most difficult times.
Okay, we're not going to empty all here. We're going to do it into series because we want people to get a concept. I was going through I'm still finding it difficult. Like, I can't believe this sort of things coming. This is my first time to see a young person like yourself to go beyond the borderline, to think of what is about to unleash. I think we're going to give it a good thought series of conversations, and we hope with a little time on here and now your voice will continue to echo here. This is another way to empower the young generations. Our future, we must begin to prepare this future in the hands of new folks, new generation. I know it is difficult because these things are going to be hard. But quickly here, I believe you went to the Hague as well, because I was tracking a lot of your activities. You went to the Hague, right?
I actually went to the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea. That is the specialized court created under the United Nations Conventions on the Law of the Sea that we call the Constitution of the Ocean. So that court was created as an international court to deal with disputes from that convention. So you're not completely wrong if you say it's the Hague, because just as the Hague is popular for the criminal court and the international court, the RCJ, this is our own form, but it's referred to as the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, which is called ICLUS. It's located in Germany, Hamburg, and that's where I did my internship and work with the legal department there.
This is quite interesting. Okay, so let's get to the conversation here. Liberia Ocean Governance Seminar, correct?
Yes.
So
yes.
What this is all about? Give the basis, the setup for those here, because usually when we come to these things here, minority, majority, and all of that. But you changed the narrative here this evening, and that's quite interesting. And we're going to take time to really dive into it. Liberia Ocean Governance Seminar. There's a council or there's a seminar that is about to take place is that in Liberia?
Yeah.
So tell us here, bring me to a point here. What is the significance of this seminar and why is it? Who are principal players into the seminar and why?
Mr. So if you've ever been out of the country, but just for the benefit of our audience, you will know that one of the things in international law, in the international community, that Liberia is very popular and famous for, is that we are the first flag in the world per tonnage. in layman terms, for someone who's following, it means that there are more ships per tonnage that fly the Liberian flag. And under the United Nations Convention for the Law of the Sea, Article 91, to be specific, is something called flag state jurisdiction. That is to say that if a ship is flying the flag of that country, the ship has the nationality of that country. So it means that those ships on the sea that fly the flag of Liberia, they are Liberian ships. And if their rights are infringed on, it is the responsibility of the Liberian government to intervene. And secondly, if you've been following recently, you will realize that we signed a very, very significant groundbreaking treaty called the BBMJ. The BBMJ agreement is meant to preserve areas beyond national jurisdiction. We've also just quite some days ago validated what you call the Blue Economy Strategy. And we've also been engaged with what you call the fight against illegal, unregulated fishing activities. So if you read generally the academic terrain and just on the ground, you will realize that Liberia has been playing some significant role in ocean governance issue. But connect is that in as much as we globally considered as the powerhouse, the maritime powerhouse of the world, and we are participating in treaties, we are leading on initiatives in West Africa and in the war against illegal fishery, maritime security, and all of those important things. There's a disconnect with the local capacity and the local literacy. What am I trying to say is that a lot of Liberians whom, and even abroad, do not even know about the fact that Liberia is a maritime superpower in the world. A lot of Liberians also do not know the role, the critical role that the ocean plays in our life.
Let's simplify it, because someone listening there, because the name maritime is it connects to a lot of plenty of money and everything. If somebody is hearing you now, wait a minute, I'm hearing somebody on LPR that Liberia is a superpower and maritime in the world. The thing we want to have all of it. What makes this what makes it a superpower?
It's a superpower because it has surpassed Panama as the world's largest registry. So it means if you do an analysis, Liberia's flag is flown by the most ships in the world. So Liberia has more ships on the sea than any other country per tonnage. Secondly, Liberia sits on the IMO Council, which is the higher decision-making body of the higher decision-making body when it comes to international maritime transport and trade, everything. Liberia sits on that council. And Liberia also chairs the Marine Protection Committee of the IMO, the International Maritime Organization. Liberia chairs all the marine environmental issues. And maritime is a very lucrative and very large industry. Liberia chairs that committee. So that's why locally don't know how much we were contributing to global maritime, how much we are participating, how much of a role we play, and how strategic we are when it comes to maritime. So these are the components, these are the criteria I can look at and say we consider a maritime superpower. First in the world, followed by Panama, and that is really a big news, because what it means for us is that we are a country that is really leading in that area compared to other aspects of international law and international relations as a whole.
What is attached to this leading in such a vital and lucrative industry? What is it bringing to our country? Is it bringing anything? Are we making use of such a role that we are playing critical? First in the war, next, is it bringing anything to us?
And Mr. So just as you are concerned and you raise the right question, is the question I'm asking myself as well. But in all fairness, I think there have been some efforts made locally to kind of like find a connection between this global dominance, quote unquote global dominance, and how does this translate into the everyday bread and butter issue of the Liberian people? So I remember when I was pursuing my master's degree in law at the University of Cape Town, my first class I was introduced to the international law of the sea. And the professor there, when I say I'm from Liberia, he's like, "Oh, Liberia, the biggest registry, this, that." This was my first time actually knowing about this. Imagine, as an international student. It was my first time knowing about this, and I was very concerned. I'm like, what is it that is very important that whenever you say you are from Liberia in the maritime and law of the sea sector, people become concerned. People want to know how are you guys dominating everything. So just like you've been asking, I'm also in doubt about how that can be translated, or how can we bring that home. But then you want to take into consideration that recently there have been some efforts, like I said, like you have in the Maritime Training Institute now in Liberia, where young Liberians will go and be trained in marine engineering, and they will be placed on ship, and that will also sort of create employment, or create jobs for them. But then beyond that, there are a lot of other things. There are a lot of potential in this industry. If you see the concept note, there's a place where we have a discussion called domesticating the global gains. So we've thrived on the international stage. We've made a lot of significant impact. We've been participating in a very, very tremendous way. But then how do we bring that home? How can that be reflected in our national policy? And how can that create more jobs? How can that contribute to our, and how can we just basically engage and approach the ocean differently? So that's the essence, and that is the background on which this project is coming. One, to raise ocean literacy, and two, to complement this global participation that we have with local capacity, so that people, in as much as we consider as the largest registry in the world, we will have the local literacy, that people will know what it means to be the largest registry, but more importantly, they will know how to sustainably use the ocean and the resources of the ocean, and to also have local capacity here, like in this fee, for example, the law of the sea ocean, to have local capacity to be able to contribute in a way that is going to have greater impact than what we're doing currently.
That seems to be a very huge task. I see in our country, people are out trying to find the daily meal, daily bread, going to tell somebody that, oh, want you to know about the ocean, how you can use it. Yeah, but is this guy going out of his mind? Now, are there resources to supplement? Are there resources? Is this being supported by GOL, or which other organizations that is in the vanguard to support such an initiative?
So we designed this project, the Kavala Institute of Ocean Governance. We designed this project to be a project like what you said, to start up with the universities. So the intention is to train 50 Liberians. But out of the 50 Liberians, we want to work with universities. In Liberia, we have significant environmental literacy ongoing, because most universities in Liberia are offering courses in environmental science, marine affairs, but then it's very fragmented. People generally learn environmental science, nothing specifically addressing the ocean. So we, working with universities as our first stakeholders, we want to have these universities nominate students to participate in the program, but we're also looking at male-level professional, entry-level professional, people who are interested in pursuing career in things maritime related. So those are the people we're working with. And to the question you asked about sponsorship, we've designed the project in 3 phases. One is the stakeholder engagement. Part of that process is to reach out to all of the in Liberia that are concerned with what you call the blue economy. So we've reached out to the Maritime Authority, reached out to the EPA, we've reached out to Foreign Affairs, because Foreign Affairs actually handles the signing of international environmental agreements, and it's part of what we want to train our participants in. We've reached out to Fishery, we've reached out to NAFA, we've reached out to the port. The port is also part of the blue economy, and we've reached out to academic institutions. So far, we've been in this with the government. To be honest with you, nothing has materialized. But anyone who has read the concept note, or who knows what we're doing, will tell you that this is a really great idea, and there's a gap in our country that this idea is going to fill in that gap, and it's going to inspire the next generation of ocean leaders. But government hasn't committed. We've had very positive conversation, but then it's a really uncharted territory. It's something that is very new. It's something that is welcoming. But then, as you know, our country political bureaucracy support from government hasn't been forthcoming. But for now, we can affirm to you that we have the support of the universities, and they've agreed to work with us to have their students participate in this capacity building program.
I do have an interest when GOL people non forthcoming after all to get you to be where you are is under the sponsorship of the government of Liberia. And the reason people invest into something so that when people go out and learn to be able to come back, you could obtain a job in South Africa. They could say, okay, you know what, I can't stay in Germany. But as young as you are, you decided to go back because your government taxpayer, they invested into you. Now you attain what is necessary to bring those expertise back. So what is the obstacle there? What are they saying? What is actually, what is not, what are they saying?
So, Mr.
No finances. What is the bottleneck?
It's really interesting because, like what you said, I have an expertise in law of the sea, and just beside the working at the code, being one of the first Liberians to do that, and then I've undertaken training in maritime law enforcement, maritime delimitation in Korea at the Korean Institute of the Korean Maritime Institute, the KMI. I've also undertaken training there. And then it's not just about me, but the other colleague of mine who's also a product of Morocco, Mr. Gadawe Bo, is a marine scientist. He has 2 masters in marine science, environmental science and marine science. And he's a marine scientist currently researching in Portugal. And we work around this together with a lot of other young and smart Liberians who are concerned about the ocean. So the perception initially was that this is a good idea. This is something that is not the first of its kind in Africa. It's the first of its kind in Liberia, but it's not the first of its kind in Africa. I actually participated in one in South Africa, which was very, very extensive and brought together young people, ocean enthusiasts from all around Africa in Cape Town. It was held by the International Ocean Institute. It's called Ocean Governing Code. So it's not the first of its kind on the continent. It's happening everywhere along the continent. But it's not happening in my country, and I'm concerned about that. And the way in which our has been tailored is meant in such a way to address our country's challenges specifically. It's not like a copycat project. But then when you come to Liberia, for example, it's really difficult to break through the system. Ideas is not enough. I don't think so far with my experience, it's not enough that you have ideas. I think you need political will, and you need people to really sort of see this as a priority. And in order for us to do that, we know there's a new project, the government is hesitant, but we actually want to have the literacy with the common man on the street that can understand that in Liberia, the ocean is not only used for recreation. People go there for beach party. It's not only used, sorry for the expression, but for defecation. You go to West Point, all along our ocean, the line, we use it to defecate. It's not used for that purpose. And it's not also used for only transportation of goods to the port. But there are a lot of important roles, critical roles the ocean plays in our life. And if we use the ocean responsibly and sustainably, there can be a lot of benefit in light of climate change that we're having, in light of the decline of biodiversity. So those are the things we want the common people to understand, that the way you treat the ocean can impact the temperature you have. And the way you treat the ocean can also impact the level to which the ocean is going to push into the land. So we have this thing where the ocean, if you go to West Point today, Mr. So you realize where you left the ocean last time you visited Liberia is not where it's currently. It has pushed in front. So what is happening? We need to know that. So that's what we're trying to do to get the common.
Why no one is paying attention? And you are quite correct, because a couple of years ago, even West Point is too far. Right down the city hall behind the African Plaza there, you can see how it's advancing. People, you talk to people in Sino. I used to be in Sino. I said that literally the whole downtown of Sino gone. Why people are not paying attention? Because it's something that's visual. People see it happening year to year, month to month. These changes, something must be responsible. By the way, here, and I hope I should not sound so ridiculous here, but if that's the case, to help my audience and help make me to understand, I will. Since you came, have they called on you specifically to maritime? Hey, you were in so years, here you are here. Has anybody spoken with you directly from Maritime?
I think so far, so it's not been as we anticipated. To be honest with you, it is not just about me, like I always say. But when the government sends students to the Ministry of Education, there was a memorandum of understanding signed that there was a program wherein those students will come back and then they will have the opportunity to intern at one government institution, and then there can be a gradual process to integrate them. So a lot of colleagues are back from Morocco, and they've been going up and down. They haven't gotten a job. For me personally, like what you said, to be honest, no one has called me. But then, I've participated in ocean initiatives, and I've gotten some expertise and been privileged to learn from some of the best people, including from the tribunal. And I'm not just waiting for them to call me, but I'm trying to do what I can do as a citizen, as a person who's aware of the rule of the ocean, to just do something in my little way to educate my fellow Liberians about what. But again, like what you said, it's a really difficult terrain. Uh, I don't know, for some reason, I think there are a lot of good people at Maritime. Maybe the expertise is there, and those people drive the necessary change. And but so far we haven't been called there. But now we're doing this, and the only thing we appreciate now is to see how we want to work with those institutions. It's not necessarily to take funding from them, but basically to get them on board, because they are the institutions that are concerned with anything related to ocean, fishery, maritime safety, to fight piracy, for example, and even port, sustainable port management. Those are things we study, we've gotten a lot of experience in. But we just want to contribute at this level of just building the capacity and creating the awareness. But where so far we haven't been, it hasn't been very welcoming. And we on the ground. We're hoping that next week our engagement can yield fruits. We've had several conversations with people in the sector. They've been very magnanimous to call us, listen to our plans, and then they haven't expressed any objections so far. They say, "Oh, this is a good idea. Oh, this aligns with this agreement." Remember, I told you about the BBMJ. We're doing something on this program about the BBMJ. Even though we signed the BBMJ, in the ratification process, you actually need to have that law domesticated. That is the process of international law, where that law you sign internationally can be reflected in your domestic instruments. So to do that, you need capacity. To do that, you need expertise. So for some reason,
it requires, I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt. It does require political will, because at the end of the day, these policymakers, these people that make laws and things, they have to come in, they have to give it a push. I see this as a big reunion. Since 3 years ago, you were in Morocco with the other kids, with the other young people. Now everybody adults, and like I said, I think it was a good decision. And people that really contributed, that gave their lives. This is the payoff that we are getting now. And like I said, you could have stayed in South Africa and say, you know what, let me stay in Germany. And this is where we really need to understand in that country. We are to be competitive in society. And the reason you see America here today, there are a lot of immigrants, people from different places. They put their brain together. They come here and allow them to stay. They make use of their expertise, and that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. We're going to really jump on this here. This seminar, we're going to talk to our team in Liberia to also to give you a courage, because everything, it needs a spotlight. People eventually, people will get it. Now, talking about 50 Liberians to be trained, what is the benchmark? What are you looking for? Anybody, I'm not sure you're going to grab anybody down Busekwara or go Ghana Bay. Okay, let's go train. There must be some sort of criteria met. What is the real line in that?
Okay, so we've put together a secretariat, and for this conference, seminar, we have two components. Like I said, the conference and the course. So
Right.
for the course, we want to work with 50 Liberians, and you're quite correct. But 25 or 50% of the 50 Liberian would be nominated directly from the universities. So universities, for example, like AMU Universities has environmental science department. They will nominate 5 students from AMU University that are doing environmental science. We work with the department. We've met them. They will nominate the 5 students and say, those are our 5 best students, and we want them to participate in this program because they've read our course, they've read the concept, they've read everything, found it very impressive. Then UL will do SEAM, Stella Maris will do SEAM, Cottington will do SEAM. Then we have 25. The next 25 would be entry-level professional, like I told you. There are a lot of people in this country who find themselves in the fishery sector, for example, who are, for example, working with NAFAS, but they need additional training. So this can be an opportunity to help train young people who also see a future in that place. They're professional people, they're not in university, maybe they left technical schools, they want to be a part there. For example, people we're working with the Coast Guard, people in the Coast Guard, for example, who are doing maritime law enforcement, things like maritime safety, things like combating piracy. Those are things that we have within the program, our expertise. So those 25 people we're talking about, Mr. So, we apply for the program. They will apply for the program. They will submit, a cover letter, CV, and some background information about themselves. And then after that process, we have a second team of professional people who are working with institutions we're partnering with, who will come and do further examination of the application. And then after examining the criteria, the most important things we'll be looking out for is, if we empower this person, how likely is this person to be initiative about the ocean? Or how likely is this person to use this knowledge to contribute to Liberia's development in whatever sector of government they find themselves? So, for example, if a person is nominated by NAFAS to participate, we obviously know that NAFAS, when that person is coming from NAFAS, we know that upon the completion of the training, that person is going back to NAFAS with immense amount of knowledge, and that person's contribution to that entity is going to tremendously transform. They're going to contribute at a greater level. So then we know that they're going to contribute. But it's not only NAFAS. If a person is from an NGO, for example, we have few NGOs in the country that are engaging in environmental advocacy. If a person is from that background and they come from that NGO background and participate, they're more likely to lead initiatives such as beach cleanup and do so initiated to protect the ocean. So those are the things we'll be assessing, the likelihood of the participants to run with the vision, and to also be able to sensitize other people about what we're actually doing, and also the likelihood to also contribute to the national development of the country. So those are the 2 yardsticks we're going to be using. And all of these documents, the CV, the background, the questions we're going to ask within the application process is going to inform us if this is the best person who is well suited to participate in the program.
Mr. So we're talking about the nomination coming from these universities. Is that something that will be left within exclusively, or with this group participate in terms of interviewing, making sure the right folk can write? Because people get away of just manipulating, doing anything, any kind of way with the hope that they're just going to, get their way through. And you want to make sure that you have the rightful people who understands, who are willing to make the sort of ultimate sacrifice, and not just go in the first day, oh, I want to every day they're going to get 200 or 100 US. So how are you going to handle this to avoid being convoluted, to avoid it being compromised, to wasting your precious time with this sort of documenting? It's time consuming. So are you just leaving? Is the group just leaving there with the universities, or how are you going to manipulate? How are you going to maneuver through that?
The universities are actually stakeholders, and part of our engagement with them is that we set up boxes that should be ticked for a person to be nominated. So
Okay.
they have boxes that they have to tick. It's not just anyone from the university is just going to be sent. So I think to answer that question, the focus persons we're working with from the different universities, they're very cognizant of what we're looking for. But most importantly, there are structures in place to make sure that those nominations are also consistent with what we expect of our nominees.
Your
So there
expectation.
are boxes that has to be ticked. So if you bring anyone and put them in and want to nominate them, you realize that that person will not meet the bare minimum. So there are boxes that has to be ticked, and a nomination form will reflect those criteria, those boxes that you need to take for that person to participate. But it's a very important point, and we have some system in place, and we hope it work out for the better of our country, the universities, that students coming, participating, and going back. We hope it is done in a very proper and transparent way as well.
Yeah, we need to have this. I think there's going to be a consistent conversation, and we need to really push it out there for people to grab the concept, because our people quick to abuse something with the hope they either want a quick fix overnight, they want quick something to happen, so they just kind of like they just throw people in there without even doing their due diligence, and people who will not even be helpful to the process in as much. Everybody should to participate. You want to write for people that are willing to get this done here. So how many days the seminar is going for?
Okay, so the seminar, I think I've spoken a lot about the seminar, but then I forgot to mention the conference component. So the seminar is going to be, the whole event is going to be 5 days, but then we have 4 days for intensive training. So the 4 days we're going to be having intensive training on courses. For example, introduction to the law of the sea, the blue economy, the BBMJ agreement, the Abidjan Convention. We're going to be talking things like maritime law enforcement, talking things like area beyond national jurisdiction. We're going to be talking things like the EPA, ecosystem management, environmental management, specifically tailored for Liberia. And we're going to have lecturers from those very universities and authorities, like entities, sectors in different sectors in Liberia. So we want to bring people on board who've also had local knowledge to provide lectures. But then for the international aspect, we're going to have also international experts coming to discuss things. For example, like marine species planning. We haven't done marine species planning in Liberia. So we have experts that will be coming from out of the country to provide lecture, or we provide lecture online remotely to the program. So then after the 4 days, part of the 4 days, we also do a field trip. It's not enough that you said you have people in classes and tell them a lot of good things, but we also want to physically take them to places and see some of the things we're talking about. Like, what are we talking about here? This is what
to be more illustrative in your
exactly. So we are practical. We're not just theoretical. We're not talking theories. We're not talking about our heads. We show you practical things in Monrovia that is happening, sea level rise. We tell you, we explain the science, we explain the law, we explain the instrument, the framework, everything. We explain the local instruments and the international instrument. Then after the 4 days, we're going to climax with a conference on the last day. So the last day is going to be the conference. And during the conference, the 50 participants, those that have completed the course, they're going to be certificated at that conference. But then there's going to be another component of what you call panel discussions. So we've outlined the topics, and those panel discussions will be led by people from different entities in Liberia. Like we wish to bring someone from NAFAS to sit on the panel, and we have the young students in the crowd. We're looking at 150 participants. We have the panelists there. We have a moderator, and then we have a discussant. So we come, for example, we pose a question to you. What is it that you think we can do to reorientate the Liberian economy towards the blue economy? How can we maximize the opportunity of the blue economy? So then the discussant will provide their knowledge, and that person must be someone who's already working in that sector in the country already. So they have knowledge about it. That would be an opportunity to have the participants, the students, to engage with them and ask them some questions. Questions you've been asking me, very tough questions. For example, what does it mean for Liberia to be a maritime superpower? And how is that reflected in the everyday activity of Liberian people or impacts the economy of the country? So we have someone who is seat, and we have to respond to those questions. There will be a discussion, and then we wish to have other people from the entities also coming to deliver remarks and everything. So it's going to be a 5-day event, 4-day training conference.
Yeah, this is quite interesting. If I got you what you are saying here, so basically at the end of the day, they're going to be a breakup group to kind of like gather people where they're going to be having these sort of conversations with different topic questions and all of that. That's how it's going to be. So if let's get to the point here. Based on all of these institutions, more or less related or has something to do with the oceans, environment, all of that. Have they all consented that they will be in full attendance? They will be represented, something like that? Is that what you're hearing from them as far as you are concerned? Like the EPA, the port, the maritime itself, and all of that. What are you hearing from them? Their full participation is imminent?
Our answer in 241 is that the technocrats, the technicians in those institutions have embraced the idea and will be participating to contribute. I have to say that it wouldn't be possible without having them there. But then the hierarchy of those institutions will stay in conversation with them. So far, none of them have committed fully. I think one person gave some direction.
Why are they not commit? Why are they not making some sort of commitment? This is some sort of a yes, in as much it is new, somebody must be able to come forward to listen to it, to see whether it is applicable. But from all indication, considering what is happening, the sort of erosion, how the sea is being mismanaged, you go to Cape Mount area, all of those places, that's a good sense of attraction for tourism to bring a lot of good money. If you look at other countries, the Gambia and other those places, this is how they make money. So why are they not making, what is the big deal that they don't want to make commitment that a young Liberian who has gone over, who has learned and bringing his expertise, and they didn't sit down, but going all out there. So when they should even be looking for you, but you are getting it out here. So why they don't want to make a commitment, you think?
I actually I cannot speak to the reasons, but what I think we were asked for certain requirements by some of those institutions, and so far we've complied with them. Mr. So, you've been in Liberia, you're very engaged with the political issue. Unfortunately, I can't comment on most of the political happenings, but what I can say so far is that, Mr. So, we are resolved, and as the Liberian people, with the support of the Liberian people, we are resolved to do this. And if we can get the technicians from the different entities, we will do it. And we have a yardstick to measure the impact we want to make. Our country, politics is a very complex, it's very, very complex in Liberia. But we do our best because for us, we just want to give back to our country. We're not politicians, yourself. We don't have these big political connections or whatever. When we had struggles in Morocco and other things, you were giving us the platform and you were engaging around. So we don't, and we really want to refrain from going into that terrain. But it's our expectation that those people will see the good in the program and come on board. It's not necessarily giving finances. It's just about an entity, for example, expressing their willingness to participate, or maybe to just congratulate the participants. Those are things we're asking for now. Maybe they might be skeptical to say, "Oh, we've read this thing, but maybe it's it's a new thing." But at least you can support from afar, or you can come along, or maybe if you assess the credentials, or you want to assess the readiness of the team that is currently coordinating it. We are very open enough. We're not speculating about anything we're saying. We have a really well-trained team that is handling it, so we can sit and have those conversations. But currently, we are in conversations. We wrote some letters. We haven't gotten response. We've gotten some responses. We've been at meetings. We've spoken with directors. We've spoken with head of entities, and none of them have said actually categorically that this is not a good idea. In fact, they will be the first to tell you that this is something that is welcoming you. This is something that we're doing. This is something we should be doing. And then they will somehow, schedule another meeting. So we are in conversation. I think it defeats the purpose of the conversation if I'll come here and say categorically they've not committed to support. But what I can say is stay in the process. But then we also constrained by time. So there's a lot of things going on there. For some reason, I don't know, because I don't really understand the politics behind it. I think it's really a national initiative, and it is supported because it's actually in the good for the good of the country, like you said. All of these challenges you highlighted, and the fact that my country is participating now in ocean governance, not just now, but historically, but now we've taken greater role. I just think it's very necessary for us to embrace local capacity and ocean literacy at a very local level in coastal countries particularly.
What are your expectations?
My expectation, Mr. So, is that the common man on the street will understand the consequences of his actions on the ocean. That the ocean is not a dumping site. So this is not a once-off initiative. And if Mr. Singbae comes to Liberia and start telling people as an ocean prophet, John the Baptist in the wilderness. So the good idea is to get the young people, get the advocates on board, train them, they understand what we're doing, and they go out there like the 12 disciples and they take the message across the board. So we're starting somewhere, but we intend to do intensive ocean awareness program where we can just tell young people like the ocean. Mr. So you live in the US and you've been to some countries, in the world, the richest people or the best properties you can own are properties close to the beach. Because I live in Cape Town. When you go to Cape Town, you see Camps Bay, you see properties close to the beach. The prices of those properties are very, very, very extravagant because of the position and because of how much you benefit from nature. And the Cape Town economy is based on the beach. You see the ocean there. That's why they make their money from. That's why people go there to have good time. So,
Right.
but in Liberia, it's quite the opposite. People see the beach as a place you can go and defecate, you can go and dump your waste, and or you can just go for talent show. So the layman on the street, first of all, will understand that everything we're doing today is going to contribute to maybe the decline in biodiversity, or my action by throwing plastic in the ocean or dumping that in the ocean is going to affect the marine biodiversity there, or is going to exacerbate climate change, or is going to impact the level of which erosion is going to come, how frequent it's going to come and flow. So we're trying to kind of like provide a layman interpretation or understanding of why we are having the environment, the impact on the environment, how that is tied to our actions and our interactions with the ocean. So that is the first expectation. The second one is to inspire in Liberia a consciousness about the ocean, also inculcated or reflected in our academic curriculum. So far, Liberian universities, despite our contribution, our participation, we have to leave Liberia to go to the War Maritime University in Sweden, or we have to go to the Regional Maritime University in Ghana, even though we are the largest registry. So universities here should start to offer courses in ocean governance, for example, because it's a very critical part. It's a really important thing that is going to empower young people in this country, and it's also going to kind of like create jobs opportunity in light of the blue economy. So how do we inspire that? That's why we need the universities on board. That's why we're working with the university stakeholders, because we want to have, for example, the University of Liberia has taken a great step to have a program now on aquaculture and fishery. But that is one aspect of the blue economy. And then another university is having, environmental science. But we look for having courses like masters or bachelors in ocean affairs. Since we are a maritime superpower, that should be reflected in our academic capacity, and that should also impact the research we conduct in Liberia. We should be conducting maritime research. We should be doing a lot more in terms of what we're doing. I think we are punching below our potential, and there's something we're trying to see how we can inspire people, and we can inspire curriculum, and we can inspire research in Liberia. So those are my two expectations.
Let's take a break and we'll be right back. I'm talking with a young Liberian scholar, went out there, did what he should do, and he's back to give back to his country. I'm Afonso Zien, so this is The Examiner. We'll be right back.
Do you want to share your events with the world? Why not contact us? We are Liberia Public Radio, LPR. We are the specialists in advertisements, commercials, radio and TV services. We have the professionals that can help you sell your products and provide live coverage of all events such as weddings, conventions, graduations, reunions, anniversaries, sports, birthdays, baby showers, religious activities, funerals, and many more. Take your phone right now and call any of the following numbers: 682-433-8802, 267-648-6089, 484-786-3337, or 916-533-2048. Our customer service representatives are waiting to take your calls and give you the needed assistance. It is LPR, the home of excellent media services, and your friends in business.
Okay, so well, folks, that's a man, lover boy. That I'm talking with a young Liberian, Johnson with the second, a young scout. He's back in the country, and there's a big seminar in the making in Liberia, something new. Perhaps people just been downplaying it, but yeah, we are. Somebody got to get it out of coma to resuscitate it and work it up. That's the Liberian Ocean Governance Seminar, big one on the way. Let's talk about the conference. The conference itself. Let's look at the setup of the conference.
So we have the conference this year is tied to what you call the blue economy. So the sustainable blue economy has just been validated by Liberia, and there's a strategy on the African Union called the Blue Economy Strategy that is tied to the African Union Agenda 2063. So what that is a means to create new jobs opportunities and to use the ocean as a source of economic growth, but to also balance that with sustainability. So you want to support the ocean, you also want to conserve the ocean. So the balance between there is called the sustainable use of the ocean. So you're taking away from the ocean, not taking away in such a way that the ocean is not able to replenish itself. So that blue economy strategy is very critical. I'm very glad that the Liberian legislature has actually finalized the tourism sector, because there's a new emergence of what you call ecotourism, which is also part of that blue economy strategy. So you can see how everything is connected in what we're doing. So the conference is going to have two sessions. The first session is going to be focused on the blue economy, and it's going to be particularly about how can we reorientate our economy in such a way that the blue economy strategy is reflected and it's intentional. It's not just on paper, but it's actually reflected in all of our laws and policy. And how do we have laws and policies that protect the ocean? Then the second one is going to be looking at the maritime sector, for example. How do we domesticate the global gains? So how do we find this connection between Liberia having the largest reservoir in the world and Liberians back home? How does this really impact them, or what does it mean for us as a country? So on that particular session, we're going to have it's going to be someone who is in that sector, who's an expert, who's from that sector, or even the head of that sector coming and talking. And then there's going to be a discussant who is just basically going to give some comments and maybe some things that were left out, some confusion, some things that needs to be clarified. Just going to raise them. And there's also going to be an opportunity for questions and answer session, Q&A session, where people will engage with them and say, oh, okay, what does it mean for us to be the largest registry in the world? What are the opportunities out there? The Maritime Institute has been doing well with training of maritime engineer. And this will also be a platform where those institutions will really tell the Liberian people. I don't know of any program is so in this country where all of these institutions, because you have to understand the blue economy is very fragmented. There are many institutions in Liberia dealing with the ocean. It's very fragmented. Fishery will tell you we responsible for fish under the ocean. EPA will say we have general environmental supervision, marine biodiversity, and everything. Coastal counties resilience. We look at this type of thing. Waste management. Maritime will tell you we're doing shipping. Coast Guard will tell you we're enforcing. We're fighting piracy. We're fighting armed robbery against ships. So it's so fragmented. So then we say everyone can come on the table and discuss and really let the Liberian people know about the work that NAFAS is doing. Like, how is NAFA leading the fight against IUU fishery, for example, in West Africa? What is the maritime industry doing, the Liberia Maritime Authority doing, for example, with capacity building? It's not all negative. They've been doing some positive things. What are they doing? And how can we expand on that? How can we orientate? So what is the port doing, for example? People talking about port. Now there's a move towards what you call smart ports. I think, Mr. So, you know there's about smart ports. You don't want to take your goods to ports and you have to be there for 4-5 days. It's very frustrating because there's economic consequences. So people are moving to smart ports, but more importantly, ports that are sustainable and ports that are environmentally friendly. So all of those things are conversations we haven't been having because we have a society that is deeply polarized. And it's very important we've been having political conversations, which is very important because when politics crumbles, every other thing will not be able to function. But now we say, how we are having those political conversations, we have to have them in conjunction with sort of a more coordinated approach to the ocean and what are those institutions that we have currently are doing towards that. So that is just the whole overview of the conference.
This is a very huge tax, and I have no doubt that it's going to come out. And I know when something new comes out, for people to grab it is not easy because we Liberians are in the tendency of having this sort of quick result. Or why am I going to come into about CB? But I think I'm seeing your resilience, the strength, your determination. And it's just a matter of getting that stage set. Definitely, somebody going to get that stage. And one of the things here, this Paris issue here, if you look at, you follow the issue of Nigeria, that's a very, very serious thing. But our country, I don't know whether it has ever been reported. I don't want that, but it's a very, very dangerous thing. And I think such a sort of approach gives another awareness. I believe the preventive aspect going to be there. People are going to be exposed to something. But we are used to managing crisis, and we are not good at it. We're good at creating crisis. So it's good to prevent these crises because we do not have the capacity. We are unable to end escalating crisis and things. So taking the sort of pragmatic approach, I see it as a long-term to avoid anything that's going to serve as a distractions into and treating our sea very good. I think it's a good thing. Where would this seminar? Where will it be taking place? Which I know it's in Morovia, right? It's in Morovia. Which part is there a special facility or how or sort of what the venue? Where's the main venue?
So the program is going to be from the 17th to the 20th. And we have 2 venues that we're going to be confirming Monday, which is very good. We likely to use the University of Liberia facilities or to use the AMU facilities. So there's some considerations given on which one we can use because we don't want to really inconvenience the universities and the students. So those are the arrangements that are being made currently. But hopefully this week, everything will be communicated and then the application process will be. And like you said, it's a big tax, but it's not an individual initiative. It's a whole strong team behind. We have to give credit to a lot of young people who are working, even people who have been in the sector for many years, but who embrace the idea and say, okay, we will make available this facilities to you. You can use it. And to also our international partners, some of them have been concerned. They've been like, this is a good initiative. And this is something we
mention the names of some of those international partners so people will know that it's not just 1 or 2 persons, but it does have some sort of a strong backing from outside of. Who are some of those international partners? Do you care to mention it?
We've reached out to many international partners, but then there's a few institutions in Liberia that is really focused on the sustainable blue economy. You know that Conservation International has been doing extremely well. with supporting local initiatives and projects that have to do with the sustainable blue economy. Conservation International is everywhere, is all around the world, and they focus in that area. So they've been doing really great job in Liberia. When you look at the ocean, you look at conservation, they've been really focused there. You also know that the Swedish embassies also has taken great interest in sustainability just globally, but also that is reflected in their engagement with Liberia. So those are some of the institutions that have really been like encouraging, having done anything big yet, but have been saying like we're in talks. This is a good initiative. We can refer you to this institution. We can refer you here. We can get some support from here. It's really been a very productive conversation with them. But for now, we can confirm. I can be categorical to say they've committed this, but they've always welcomed us into their offices to say, "You come, let's talk about this because we think it's going to help the country." So those are two institutions we've been really welcoming, and we're in conversations with them. And this week, we're looking forward to meeting more institutions. Maybe through this conversation, someone out there might want to refer also another institution like your local NGO, or where you think we can get fundings from, or we can just get capacity support from. We also appreciate that. But it's actually, like I said, the stakeholder engagement phase is concluding gradually. And by this week, we were looking forward to concluding that stage. So then we will know who's on board, who's not on board, and we know how we're proceeding forward.
Let me ask this. I know you're not of those type who always, but I think a lot of people listening to watching. There's somebody bumping into this conversation will be scratching. But who is this young guy? Who is he? What is his role? What his role in this whole thing? Do you care to tell us for those who might not know who just bumped
Okay,
in?
so for people who just joined the conversation, like I said at the beginning of the interview, Mr. So, John Saylay Singbae II. I have a master's in international law, but I focus on we focus on the law of the sea and environmental law. And I'm currently pursuing my PhD in the law of the sea, and my PhD specifically examines Liberia participation in international law. We focus on ocean governance, law of the sea, at Nelson Mandela University. So that's where I'm doing my PhD. Then I've also, like, we started the conversation with my training at the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea. I was privileged to be in the legal department, to work with some of the best experts and learn from them. And then I also was privileged to participate in the Korean Maritime Institute training program on law of the sea, maritime law enforcement, marine spatial planning, and a lot of things in ocean governance, and also the International Ocean Institute that is in Malta, the South African branch. I also participated in a course on ocean governance. So that is my background. But in this project specifically, I'm the convener. So I'm basically not like the executive director. I'm the person who brings the stakeholders together, who brings the institution together, and say, let's honor in our Liberian parlance. Let's go honor the Palau Hall and reason together.
Right.
The outcome, they think is very important. What can we do? So it's not like my project. It's like I'm convening. I'm bringing the universities on the table. I'm bringing the government on the table. I'm bringing NGO on the table. I'm bringing international institutions on the table and say, what can we do? This is an urgency. I've visited the beaches. Mr. So is really disappointing. And when we go out there and talk about Liberia, and all the time people have this illusion about our country, we need to change those negative narratives. And I told someone, Mr. So, let's just lastly, I know I'm digressing, but
No,
if you
no,
look at
that's fine. I think that's the purpose of this
I
conversation.
I studied international law. If you look at all of the countries in the world, people who've watching this podcast now, if you've ever heard about the term small state diplomacy, that is, the international order is arranged in such a way where there are a lot of hegemony. Is a multipolar war with a lot of power competition, security competition. The US, Russia, and how do you call it, China. Those are superpower competing at that level. So for a small country with about approximately 5 million population cannot compete at that level. So it's a very, very, very harsh war. Professor John Minshama referred to it as a jungle justice place where everyone is fighting for survivability. States are fighting for survivability. But there's been this innovation where smart states take one aspect of global governance and lead it and be known for it particularly. So today, if you look in the world as a whole, you will know that Vanuatu has been one of the countries that have been very vocal on climate change, the impact of climate change, because while it's a small island state that is going to disappear because of sea level rise, because of the rise in emission, fossil fuels, and all of these things. Andorra, for example, is a very small country today that is known for its champion role in championing sustainability. Today, when you hear about Monaco, you hear about what Monaco is doing in terms of entertainment, people going there. So there's this concept where small states that know that it's impossible to compete with big states in global security competition and other things will take one thing and they capitalize on that thing and use it as a tools in international order, in international relations. So today, Liberia is talking about a seat on the Security Council, but then it's also talking about the conservation of marine biodiversity. That's the conversation because that's why they signed the BBNG agreement. So if Liberia, for example, can just be a country in Africa that is leading on that front, Liberia does not only get the visibility on that front, but Liberia gets to influence policy internationally and be an example for other countries to follow. So this is an opportunity, in as much as it's a very good thing to be ambitious, to say we want to be on the Security Council. It's a very good thing. I support my country, but I think it will add more value to our ambition if we were to point at something we are leading on as a country. Peace and security is very important, but there's something we can hold on to because today there are small countries globally that if you need them, people will say, oh, this country, in as much as their size is small, their land mass, their population is small, but if you mention this thing, you can call them out. Today, if you mention about entertainment, people say, I'm going to the Maldives, I'm going to Seychelles. Seychelles is the smallest, is almost one of the smallest island countries in Africa. But if you go to Seychelles today, it has one of the best economy in Africa, and the projection for growth is really impressive. So what I'm saying, this is an opportunity we can use as a country. This is something we can champion globally, and this is something that people can know Liberia for. For now, we are known as the global maritime superpower, but we can do more than that because maritime trade is one aspect of the blue economy. In Africa, this is an opportunity for us to lead on the blue economy. This is an opportunity for us to inspire our neighbors to act on the ocean. The ocean is one, it's connected. We have all of this thing we call spatial distribution, where we draw a line between countries in the ocean, but the oceans and the marine biodiversity in the oceans, they do not respect those boundaries. Those boundaries are artificial. If a fish stock is in Liberia, you know that at a certain time of the season, the fish will leave Liberia and go to Guinea to swim, and they will come back to Liberia. And if Liberia and Guinea cannot coordinate how to exploit the fish stock there, it means that when they are in Guinea, they will overexploit it, and they might not be able to come to Liberia, and Liberia will also suffer a shortage in exploiting those fish. So you see how this thing is connected. If you look at the Atlantic Ocean on this line, how much change we can aspire. On the Indian Ocean side, South Africa, Kenya, and other countries, Seychelles, for example, or they're taking the lead there to have coordination, to have cooperations along the Indian Ocean side. But the Atlantic Ocean side, so far, I think Liberia has a potential to be the leader and to be the pace setter when it comes to ocean governance.
Wow. So, you know the traditions of this network here. We always like to engage our folks to allow them to be part of the process, to ask other the questions, put to rest any apprehension. So, I'm going to be putting this number out here in the next 10 minutes before we wrap up. The analysts can join us here. The number there, folks, if you want to participate, is 682-433-8802 and ask your questions. No questions is ever silly. He who asks just want to find a way out, to get stuff done. Where do you want to see this at the end of the day? This what you have embarked on with all of folks out there. Where do you want to see it?
I think we want to do this as an annual event, Mr. So far, we've really been engaged by university students. Trust me, we spoke on campuses, we spoke to students, and The students were contacting me. We want to intern. We want you to mentor me. I will do this. So it's the enthusiasm from the students actually really encouraging, because young people are interested for once in something that is very important for our livelihood. So we've been getting engagement from students, and then I'm speaking with my partners on the possibility of having this annual event where we have the first Liberian Ocean Governance Conference going to be this one. But then next year, we can have a second Liberian Ocean Governance Conference. We can do it every year. Last year, it was fascinating because I participated in the Global Ocean Governance Conference in Busan, Korea. And it was really fascinating to see countries in the Indo-Pacific, Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, Philippines, and how you call it, or Singapore, the Strait of Malacca that is really contested now. And all of those countries that have overlapping claims, they were at that conference, and the Koreans were very magnanimous to bring them together. And there were a lot of significant conversations, even about this that happened with the Houthis rebel when they were attacking ships. You remember when the conflict that spewed over and the Houthis were arresting ships and even going on ships? That was a forum for conversation had on how to address that issue. And it was interesting to know that some vessels that were attacked there were Liberian flag. So I think we can do that as an annual event in Liberia. We want to start in Liberia, but we're not ending in Liberia. I spoke to some colleagues around in Sierra Leone, in Guinea. Those are things that are not been, people are not doing it. People are not contemplating on it. And I think regional cooperation is also important, is encouraged by the convention, actually. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea is encouraged to have regional cooperations among states, send the ocean and share. And you remember at a certain point there was an armed robbery situation in Sierra Leone when people hijacked a ship, 3 nautical miles, they robbed the ship, and the Sierra Leoneans have to communicate to the Liberian Coast Guard and say, "Don't rob our ship, they come in your water, so can you intercept them for us?" So those are the things we're talking about, the connection.
So basically here, there should be some sort of collaboration, not just internally, but externally too, with other neighbors. Like in the case of the specific reference that you're supporting. So every country somehow, some way, does have a support in making sure this is realized. Because if you do it, you get it right in Liberia, and Sierra Leone is not doing it, Ghana is not doing it, Guinea, especially a country that borders, and another person sneak in this pirate situation, and the response cannot come from the neighbor side, then it's a problem. So this is going to be like a sort of explosive method process to also sell this to the rest of neighboring country as well, or even if they are doing it now, that I don't know.
Exactly. So what we did first, we did an assessment in the different West African countries. So we're interested to know that West Africa is very important in international trade, maritime affairs, because number one, the strategic location of West Africa. If you look at the map, you see the Atlantic Ocean is a very basic sea route areas where you have a lot of ships passing, fishery activities going on. It's interesting to know that countries in West Africa, they are losing almost 1.2 billion approximately a year just for illegal fishing. It was also interesting to know that countries in West Africa and Central Africa are formed within what you call the Gulf of Guinea. The Gulf of Guinea is a piracy hotspot. It means people get on ships, get gone, attack ships, almost like the same situation that you know about what's happening in Somalia, where ships couldn't pass through because they were being hijacked. So, but if you look at if you look at West Africa, it was interesting to know also that it is not because of the lack of instruments or laws to address those issues. It's just because there's the lack of capacity and awareness to address those issues. So if you look at all of the West African countries, compared to other part of the world, you will realize that we have the least capacity to address all of the issues we're speaking about today. So we do not just intend to stay in Liberia. As I speak, we have a coordinator in Sierra Leone who's also been able to engage with stakeholders there, universities. Lassana Kone has been able to engage with university. He's been able to engage with academics and people there. So we try to do what you call stakeholder engagement, where we speak with the people there and we get to understand the situation. We do sort of a questionnaire and just know the basic knowledge of the ocean as well. Then we also know how to tailor that particular program towards the needs of that particular country. We don't want a situation where we just replicate in Liberia, for example. I can't go in Sierra Leone now and say Sierra Leone has the biggest registry in the world. But of course, Sierra Leone has its own challenges in terms of ocean governance. And I think when you speak to those challenges, then you can get people on board to have a conversation. So that is our approach to the situation so far.
What could potentially be the end results of participants, those are going to be nominated? What is in it at the end of this seminar? What should they expect?
Number one, we're going to increase your awareness, and we're going to empower you. So if you are doing environmental science in Stellar Maris, AMU, and maybe to some extent you've been limited in your understanding of what the ocean is because the course you're doing specifically address one aspect of the ocean, this is going to be the opportunity for you to see ocean governance from a whole different perspective. You're also going to be opportune to learn from some of the leading experts and the best people in ocean governance globally. You're going to be able to learn from them. That exposure is very important. And I think that is also going to inform your career path. Because in Liberia, there's limitation on what you can do when you go to universities. Everyone will say, oh, I want to do environmental science, but there are a lot of different components to it. There's a lot of different things that come. There's marine science, there's law of the sea, there's maritime affairs, there's fishery, a lot of different things in it. So just to enlighten you, if you want to pursue a career as an ocean professional, what are your options? And then that training is also going to be very important because if you leave the university and you want to acquire a job, you're obviously going to know what you're doing there or how you can go about with it. So those are some of the things we intend to achieve. But then we also we're very keen on having that platform where the government or people who in those entities who are doing great job or who are trying to do something good can be able to sort of engage with young Liberians. Engage with them and tell them what is being done. How safe are we in light of sea level rise? The ocean is coming closer. It's coming closer every day. Every day is coming closer. How safe are we? Because the ocean is occupying more land. So how safe are we in general? So those are questions that are going to come up. And then also just to inspire ocean activists. So in Liberia, people are advocating, people are activists for different things. But then we have ocean activists, people, for example, who will make sure that government policies has an ocean component. So that when we're making decisions, for example, NOCA is making decisions on blocks of ore, they're not only going to look at the economic factor, but also going to take into consideration the environmental hazard that could potentially result from mining of ore on the coast, and how that hazard is going to affect people who rely on the ocean for their daily needs. You do know about the situation of mining in Kidman and how the local communities have been affected and asking about the situation. So those are things that we want to inspire people to just raise those issues, have the literacy, be inspired to go out there with the right knowledge to lead change initiatives in our country.
Do you intend to take this besides going in a comfort area in terms of sitting at a specific place? Do you intend to take the road to have this sort of conversation in the streets of Monrovia, other places where you want to kind of like more or less just go beyond to sell this idea? Is that something you might consider and your team?
We like I said, we are at we concluding the stakeholder engagement phase. That is to seek to bring as many stakeholders as possible on board. And then the next stage, we leave that stage having discussed the concept note, agree on everything. The next stage now, we've already started to some extent, is to engage with the media, the people. Like the Liberian Public Radio is a great platform followed by a lot of people, and young Liberian also, and the feet on the ground also. So we engage with the Liberian Public Radio. We also intend to engage with universities. I think the Palawa Huts in our countries, it's not only for politics, it's good that we have political conversations, but we can also use the Palawa Hut, for example, at the University of Liberia to talk about this project. We can also go to AMU. We can talk about it with the environmental students. I think we can speak with the student assembly. So those are our methods of engaging people. We're going down West Point. We're going to do ocean literacy program there, and we can speak to the people down West Point with all of the sophisticated grammars and terminology. We have to speak to them in a way they understand. So if need be, this is not like a Morovia-based project. Maybe we'll be in Sano. The next edition, maybe we'll be in Sano. Maybe we'll be talking to people along the coast. They're affected by sea level rise. Maybe we can be in my.
I think that would be a very perfect example to use for people to see with their naked eyes to say, okay, yeah, we're like this thing we've been seeing it, but we are not being putting mind into it. None that the some people, but they have not found an interest. People have never told them, the importance and how it should be treated, how people should kind of like, manage it and be careful. Well, in the event, just let us know once you intend to get out there to have the conversation. Let us know 7-8 hours before time. That's great. Or whatever time we can make sure coordinate with our guys, because this is what we do here for us, and this is why our conversation is so inclusive. We are not limited. We believe every aspect of our society, every component of our society, including the conversation that we are having. Even though the dominant part of our conversation is always up there, because this is where the decisions and policy comes from that affects our daily lives. But we are not limited to have any conversation here. We don't have to, somebody don't have to be minister, director, or whatever person before you come on this network. We're always willing to and for you, trust me, we had conversation in the past, and I'm proud to see what you are doing. That justifies, and I deny the fight of those who try to despise you guys at a time when you were in Morocco, when the going was tough and the tough was getting going, and people say, oh, let the people go back. What are they doing there? Say they ain't doing nothing there. They walk on board as no vagabond, and that's the problem. We do not motivate. We do not encourage people. We do not ask questions. We just quick and fast in making judgments and concluding cases that have not even been opened, been put on the docket. But he say, yeah, he's already guilty. But see what you are doing now. And many of the other young guys, some of them will sometimes still chat on the Facebook. I think there's some better days for Liberia, and we have to push towards it. We have to be very forceful, respectful, but very forceful, and make them to know, because you are. I'll be making phone calls to people, to both some policy maker, because it needs a push. It needs a push. You have no business say that you want to go back to that country. Trust me, if you don't love your country, if you're not a patriot, they send you to school. And this is where I hope I will have people from the Ministry of Education as well. And this is where sometimes our frustration can be, because so when we try reaching out to these people, they want go places where their talking point should be the dominant part. And that's not what we do here, unfortunately. Because when government invests into people, when government gives scholarship, when people go out, what do they have, like a tracking system? How are these people doing? Who has done well? Who has achieved what? And who is coming? And what can they do in return? But you have to be part of a party. You either put bag on your back to shout, to sing, and cause everybody not addicted to that sort of behavior. So I am shocked. We will not be political, but unfortunately, politics is what drives our country to be why it is. So sometimes we have to swallow those bitter pills, whereas maybe sometimes guests will not want to talk it. But I'll just send you a text to one lawmaker. They always listen. And hopefully, I know there are committees, there are people responsible for this thing here. And to see young men of your age, so after doing everything and coming back, is because what you see is out there, you want it to be manifested in our country. But we have Goliaths in that country who always stand in the way of development. We will equally tell those people what they need to know, not what really they want to hear. And that's what we do on this network. Maybe there's something back there that you have not talked about, you want to talk about before. I know it's very late inside Liberia, and I thank you so much. And I think we're gonna anytime we're gonna have this some sort of conversations and just let them know, even if we want to take the street of Monrovia, be it the Ataisha, the AMU, whatever can be, all you need to do, just shoot me a message. We'll connect you with the team, and so that we need to give it a public attention. I know people don't find interest in this sort of conversation. But by the time you say somebody steal $1 million here now, oh, somebody causing somebody power, no. But these countries, civilized country, modern country we are enjoying, these were some of the things that took into priority. And like you said, Cape Town, I haven't been there, but when you talk about tourism, because how they treat their beaches, their sea, come, you go sit somewhere, fresh breeze blowing you. Not go sit somewhere where Kaka can get you move from there, your whole nose clogged. No, you can't. When you have that sort of beach, you don't expect somebody from America, Euro, Asia, other place to sit. They're going to sit in Cape Palmas, in Cape Mount or even Monrovia. You move for other than that, you want to get sick. But let's hear you. What is the final message? Maybe somebody didn't get it well. Let's wrap it up here from your end here. What is the final message for you? But and like I said, we'll continue to have this sort of conversation.
Mr. So, in the simplest term for Liberian men to understand, 70% of what we consume here, almost 80%, because we are an import-based economy, comes through the ocean. So it's important that you have vessels being able to make their way here. And things like piracy and unrolling ships will impair the goods here, and delay in those commodities will also impact the prices on the Liberian market. In Liberia, 80%, approximately 80% of our diet comes from protein, from fish. We eat fish from the ocean. If we do not treat the ocean very well, it's going to impact the availability and it's going to contribute to the decline in marine biodiversity in our oceans. And you spoke about tourism, which is very important. We can position ourselves as one of the best countries in the world just by having good beaches that are safe and they are also healthy, and just putting nature as a stakeholder in everything. So the message out there to any Liberian listening is that we have an opportunity to lead in ocean initiative globally. All countries around the world, if you hear about the climate change framework, the Paris Agreement, all of those things, the UN Ocean, there's efforts being made, but locally we can also do some things to take ownership of our own country when in that particular respect. And we also every Liberian out there in the diaspora, if you're interested in supporting this program, just reach out to Mr. So. We appreciate your support because the level of ocean awareness there is also very high, so people really understand the importance of the ocean on our temperature and everything we have. So if you're interested, reach out to Mr. So and just keep following. We have our page on Facebook. It's called the Mano River Institute of Ocean Governance. You can go there, you'll see what we're doing, the work we're doing, how we intend to engage with coastal communities, how we intend to educate people by just the waste, how to manage their waste and not to dump on the beaches. So we're doing a lot of things that you can go on the page and follow it also. And just in conclusion, to say a big thank you to you, Mr. So. Like what you said, we've come a very long way. We have history together. And I always tell people when I've listened to the platform that I'm not a person who pursues popularity. I believe in the quality of the conversation. And one of the things your station or your platform has been able to do over the year is to pursue quality conversation over popular conversations. So whenever you tune into this conversation, you always hear very, 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 very balanced analysis, which might not be very suitable to the ears of some people, but is what should be said, and you're saying it. So to just say thumbs up to you, Mr. So, for all the great work you're doing and for giving us the platform, and thumbs up to my team also at the Kavala Institute of Ocean Governance, the young people, my co-convener, Mr. Bo, and the young people who've bought the ideas, and to all of the universities we've been engaging who have expressed their willingness to participate, and our international partners who are having conversation to see how best we Liberians can have ocean consciousness and can sustainably manage our ocean. We also very open, Like Mr. Soul says, it's not a political thing. We're very open to working with Liberian stakeholders. We really hope that we can have people from that background, policymakers on board to contribute, and whatever contribution you want to make in terms of capacity, you want us to add a certain component to the program. You're interested in having a conversation about how the missions of your own entity can be reflected. We're very open to this conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. So. I think it was worth being up here talking with you. And as always, it's a really great conversation to be here. In our
You know,
friendship
the things that
along.
we talk behind the scene, yeah, right? So soon we get everything set up out there. I think this void needs to be echoed every day, every other time here once it's settled. Just keep me posted. We will talk with the management team in Liberia to make sure that we give courage to this seminar. That there's a need that we sound that bell, let it echo through the length and breadth of Liberia. We need to start being innovative. We have so many ways to get money, but it just take innovative people, smart people, to do it. So with this here, I'm shocked for girls to just to know that Liberia is it's a superpower in this whole maritime thing. Carrying and people will say, but then why are we like this? Who are? It's because we are not utilizing our expertise. Mr. Singbae, thank you so much for being the way this morning hour for the good of your country. We're going to be having this conversation routinely right here on LPR. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. So. In our American parlance, we say chocolat. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Okay, well, folks, this is what we do here. Folks, the analyst, the link is out there. And this is why sometimes you don't. He was one of the students. In fact, he was a student leader at the time in Morocco. You remember when there's people, the students, there was sort of demonstration, school fees were not paid. And people said they should go back home, they should do this, they should do that. And I said, no, let's have a second thought. And we managed to reach out to them. They organized themselves responsibly, well organized, group, young children. But here he is now. He never gave up. They remained there to whatever contribution people gave. The little race here, I think, little over 2,000, which met their needs. He did hang in there. They completed his studies, went to South Africa with his master's, working at his PhD now, and to come back, leaving from all of those places, to go back into his country, all the things that he learned, he had other colleagues, the idea, how many of us willing, we want to see things happening here, but how many of us willing to go beyond that borderline, to that sacrifice? I'm going there because first of all, we want to make a demand. I didn't hear you saying anything. There's no preconditions of a returning. But what is sickening is this is troubling. And I don't want to be judgmental. We'll try to reach out to the education authority, because if you send people out to study, you send people out, you pay, you help, whether you defaulted, but somehow you make some payment, which is okay. Do they keep track of these people, how they are doing, how far they are, whether they are back in the country, whether there's any possibilities of inclusions, whatever they are learning, government has invested to get back to the country, or do they have to join some kind of bear wagon to be in the bear way before they can be incorporated? That's a frustration in itself. That itself drives people away. Because at this point, he should be the one, they should look for him. Oh, we learned that we are here. Where are you? Which township? How can we pick you up? We need to have a conference. You need to tell us something. But that will not happen. They will never do that. They sit down and speak the big bold, commit themselves, the people. Sadly, they end up being the worst. I don't understand. How, what more can we say in this whole thing here? You know? And so now we say, oh, we make comparison to the country, to other countries. It's not automatic. God don't just throw it down to these people that work towards it. They make use, they utilize the expertise of their people that went out, learn, and return. They welcome them, they accommodate them. They don't ask them, oh, my man, you here to stay or when you going back, because this is the insecurity aspect of our people. So you go visit, the next thing we see you one day, oh, you're here to stay. They becomes insecure because they think you're going to take their job. Where is the job, in fact? Where is it? The reason this country is so vibrant is they incorporate everybody. They bring in new ideas, innovations. They don't care whatever you find, where you find, even though all of the crazy that ongoing right now. But it is based on this foundation to see this here. Now, there are a lot of Liberians out there. Do they have to join party before you can get them in the system? For God's sake. Someone like him of his age to sacrifice, to deny social tie activities, to deny himself some good things of life. Went hungry several times in Morocco and said, no, there's still a good day. I'm not going back to Liberia right now. I must achieve what I want to get. And then when I go back, I can be useful to my society. Taking the risk, because life is a risk. Going to South Africa, going to school, going to South Korea, places that you have not been. Pana get house there, mana get house there. But it is his wisdoms and the guardians of God. Because there's something built in, that sort of convictions is there that I must get to this place, seeing all of the good things that I'm saying, I will go back to my country and be able to contribute. But you have a very corrupt, rotting system in that country. This is so sad. Anything you want to do, they will push you, they will push you, they will frustrate you. You won't take time, God one knows. Yet they say they want a country. And we in the media industry too, we are responsible. We do have a part to play because we fail to keep the conversation fair, balanced, and proportional. And so politicians, stakeholders capitalize through this, they cut through that corridor and slip away and do whatever they want to do. And so they have managed to infiltrate the media system. And so you see people sit and create this sort of political satire, and the thing is funny, things that is happening in the country. The thing is funny. They want to be in multiple places at the same time. They go this way, they don't see their way, they come back and act like they have gained redemption, they are about to repent. They're not repenting. They knew what they were doing. They knew what they got into. They never asked all of the questions. They knew what they wanted because they have an hidden agenda. Now the boat or the canoe capsized, and so they come back, try to walk back and try to put themselves into a good frame, but they do have something ahead of them. And so things that you listen to, it does have an impact into your decision making. Unfortunately, I don't know when we will come to a point, we as a Liberian, to know where we are going, where we are heading. Yes, people are good to have a side, of course. But we're seeing it happening today. Analysts, political pundits, talking heads, they are the indefensible, the CEA rare, but they tell you, say you have eyes issue, your visions is not good. They will tell you, say it's black, simply because they are protecting something or something is in it for them. That's the difference with this country and the politicians here. Not all of them 100%, but some of them are willing. How many of our leaders are willing to take a political risk at the detriment of their job? How many of them? None. None. All of them. If not all, 90% of them, in the interest of fairness. They just lie. They complain about something yesterday, the camp is done differently today. And when you ask all of these tough questions, they give justifications of their action, taking you back to yesterday when we should be forging ahead. How many of them willing to be like Liz Cheney, who stood her ground and cost her job? How many of them in Liberia? How many of them, the former Representative Adam Kissinger of Illinois, that stood against his party? How many of the senators and representatives say, yes, I am for this party, you are my president, but this one here, you kick the can down the road, you are there wrong, and I am for Liberia? How many of them? You remember the famous thumbs down to the late Senator John McCain when he was even in his dying bed to leave and go on Capitol Hill. He did it. He's a born Republican, but he didn't see it that way. How many of our people, all of the people that took part in the election 2029, maybe you want to have almost 200-300 political parties. They come alive for the people. We advocate for the people. They advocate for themselves. And you also help to do what they are doing. You are the chief facilitator because you support them. So everything that comes out of them, even if it is ridiculous, you cheer it up. You give them the hand clap. You tell them that they are doing well. So they feel comfort in it and they do more horrible things. See what is happening right now. See why it's happening. The first branch of government that should hold people accountable, how divisive people on purpose hijack democracy, and you say you want to have a good society. That's not possible. No one have dominance over violence, and this is what I don't know why people don't understand that. We went through this before and we saw how deadly it was. So why should people even venture through that? It's all about themselves. It's not about the country. You swear, say, if you don't get it, nobody else should get it. Your interest, self-aggrandizement, and then you expect the country to prosper? That's not going to happen. Because you're thinking how your pocket and your family, everybody going to get it. Even when there's a leftover, you tell them to cover it. You don't want to give it to any other person. I want to thank Mr. Singbae for such an initiative. He was able to go and come back to give to his country. Let's take a break to the analyst. The link is out there. You can join in. And if I come, we will try to, let me come right back. If I come right back, I will be right back in a few minutes. Stay tuned. Okay, I'm Alfonso Z and so of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. For the analysts, the link is out there. We intend maybe I'll throw the line up here for what in the second segment to just speak your mind on anything that you think you need to talk about as a Liberian, and some of the things that are happening in our country, and this is what we need to do. But again, on behalf of the management and staff of the Liberia Public Radio, the board of directors, we want to send our deepest condolences to the Fredericks, Estot, and Achimo. They are one of our prime-time listeners, followers, a contributor here as well. I know I didn't see you. I was on today's Friday, Wednesday. I didn't see her. That was something unusual. I owned it late Thursday night. I got to know that her daughter passed away, 27 years old. It's a difficult one. I chatted with her, talked to the husband this morning, and you know exactly. So for those of you, I know Fatu, I guess you have heard that as well. The Libra talk about that. For those of you friends with her, you can send her message to encourage her, to support her. One daughter passed, the other child is in the hospital. That's a very, very difficult one. So she wants us to keep her in prayer, and we believe that it is only because no matter no length of phone call, message can console her. Only Lord, but it's touching, especially when she mentioned this child birthday will be on the 2nd of March, 2014. So literally, how many more weeks? Thinking that maybe family going to have a time together. A year they are in a different world, different situations beyond their control. So that itself is devastating. So Esther and Frederick, our prayers and thought out to all of you. We are deeply sorry for those of the followers who don't know, but once we are on here, everyone knows your interactions is positive, is forceful, things that you strongly believe in, your conviction lead you in making your argument, whether people agree or disagree with it. And this is a sort of network that we have here, people that here always very respectful, the civility is always maintained, even at where there's a disagreement. They will try to be persuasive of their argument, and that's how it should be, and that's how we intend to have it remain. So now seeing you here in the last few days, because of this situation, we are deeply in mourning with you. We pray that the Almighty God will lead you through this. It's a difficult thing. Child, your own child from age one month, 2 months to 27. That is something difficult to handle, especially as a mother, as a father. You know, when that happens, you know, this is not something. So we are deeply and sympathy with you. We pray that you will overcome all of this here. I'm not sure what's going on in this few times. It's just too much, even in my own state. Even in my own state, my friend just buried her husband from there, and less than a week and passed. Little less than another week, younger sister died. It's crazy. And it's such a crazy world. So for those of you who like to keep species, you gotta have a second thought. You don't want to hold yourself responsible because something that you should have done to you, you didn't do it because I don't know what what is the big deal. You know, I think when we are alive, this is one we gotta, you know, to do it. So please, we'll come on this network, we'll have a talk, we'll have a different political side. That is okay. Let us just allow the people to speak their mind. You know, if that's the easier way to get it out of your chest, it's better for people to speak it out than to have a sort of outburst. The outburst of things, that's the most dangerous one, because usually those sort of reactions are always, it doesn't come good. It doesn't come in good faith. So let us have these civil conversation. when people having these conversations, it doesn't mean they are antagonistic or they don't like, be it the governments or the oppositions. Everybody, different people have different way of doing their thing that we don't control. But people, there are so many ways, so many faction people try to express their frustrations or try to speak about their country. So unless we can be a little tolerant and listen to people to see where they are coming from, in what context they are speaking, and not just to be only judgmental. And so sometimes we have to be more like a listener and listen to the signal coming from the tone, the language. Out of the 10, 7, 8 words, you will get a signal that will drive you to the argument of that person. That is very, very much vital. That is very, very much important. And let us not just be judgmental to people's way of saying or doing things. Maybe we can go further by asking more open-ended questions that requires explanation to get the answer. What are they saying? What are they coming from? How do they see this thing here? And understand it. And when we do that, that will be okay. So we pray for our friend, one of our good follower, very, very much interactive on this network. Victor, thank you so much, Mr. Morgan and G-Port. For those of you joining us here, joining this evening for the first time, we say it. Thank you so much. This is still like Republic Radio. We are usually on here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm here on Wednesday, Fridays, and Sunday. And the most liberal on this network, the most liberal on this network is on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday with his Tabata. But that is okay. You get a saying there's no bad wish for a child. So we accommodate that. Even when he sanctioned us from talking during his program, when he created an artificial phone line, Chinese phone, that is only accustomed to certain group of people. He doesn't want here certain group of political or certain group of people that belong to a political party. That is just unfair. And so we'll continue to frown on that. We'll continue to speak against those ills because that's not being fair. It's not making people to hear the other side. And these are things we want to do. But he's liberal, so we know where he comes from. So, and all of us, everybody somehow, some way have their own argument. But bottom line, I think everybody doing it in good faith for the good of the country. We want to have our country to be the best. And so it's okay. Madam Tebengu, to Darius, good evening. Tame Ato is in the house. Aaron Giddens Cole, thank you for joining. Tape Lemons Jibwe, Ambassador Rosefe S. Dan, the man from is that Kentucky? No, what's Ambassador Dan? So where's his state again? Yeah, thank you. I don't know what I going to contest for the senatorial seat in Nima. Best time to go, my man. Sharon, good evening. Good to have you here. Kiyanta Weir, my man, John, thank you for such an elaborate and detailed conversation here. We'll continue to have this sort of conversation here on this network. Please let's keep in touch, my man. Latro, Nathan, good to have you. Kofa, Joyce, good evening. How are you? Roberta Riches, thank you for being here. Sarah Harris, Fit Roberts, Saliv, Anthony Charles Pay, Moses, good to have you here. Fanny, what's up? Yusuf Ali, it's good to have you here. Napla, I tell you. Nen. Thank you so much, Elijah. Mr. George Widard. Man, Widard, what's going on? Tavinant Nakos, good to have you here. Morris, Command, Philip, B. Don Peking, LD, what's up? Tonin Felix, Lion Te Nyakon. These are Dark House editions. Well, folks, today is Friday, so we're going to leave it here. We want to say thank you so much for your time. I know sometimes we try to mix it up. Clarence Davis, the one of the ally of the liberals. But you know, the liberal party, he not a guarantee man too. So he and he quite to fall apart. Edith Kakula, it's good to have you here. To Mila Kakula as well. To Beatrice, thank you so much. Clarence, what's up, my man? The liberal afraid. Liberal, he said he thought I'm gonna pay down him. But anyway, you're gonna be here on Thursday, I'm not sure. But by God's willing. I should be having one lawmaker on Sunday. Hopefully, when he confirms, you know, these people sometimes you and them talk. Sunday break, then they change course. So it is why it is, and that's the thing. Nothing. It's not even going to stop. Or whether they come, they not come. We will have this conversation. It is important that you and us, we are the rightful owners. They are comfortable. They are okay. Everything is moving cool with them, so they don't care whether they come, they don't come. That's it. You know, the only time you see them coming when the time is closer. So we know then. Right now, you were talking, send all of the invitation. They will say, okay, when they're ready, they don't show up. But comes when election around, they can be calling people 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. Wants to wake up that okay, they have something to say, but it's over now, so it is what it is. Guys, we want to thank you so much for your time this evening. So that's how we're going to draw the curtain this beautiful Friday evening. By God's willing, same time, same station, we'll be back here again. Let's keep Mr. and Mrs. Fredericks in our prayer. Esther and Achimo for the loss of their daughter. So they are going through tough time. Let's keep them in our prayers for God, divine interventions. It's a tough one. 27 years old daughter. Can you imagine? No, it's tough. That's a very difficult thing to process. I don't care, people, even you say no, man, but the idea we would just, you ought to reach out to her, just reach out, console her, comfort her, encourage her, to motivate her, and so she can get back on her feet. Any information you know that we get from them, we ask them that they want us to share with the public with respect to our home goings, we will do that certainly, and that's part of the bounds. That's part of the family ship that we have here. Besides or having different talking point here, we count on you. Without you, we can't come here and just sit and talk. One person. You come and say and talk. You don't have nobody making comment, nobody calling in to agree to disagree with you. Then it's not useful. But because you are so vital into the conversations of Liberia, there's no way that you can be left out of the show. And this is why when you are here, we are so much graceful, and we have to be watchful, be respectful to you. You have the right to disagree with or disabuse or and tell or call whatever name to, because we call people names. So you are also entitled to do that. All we just saying is civility is what required. I listen to you, you listen to me. That is why, that's the gap with the Clarence Davies and his liberal type and the Jerry Washington's type, and that's the difference with, but he and myself, we're cool. He's not too far from me. They want us to listen to them. But then Clarence is now changing to nowadays. So they don't like Clarence again. And that's who the liberal is. When your language now goes the Chinese way, then to you, and there's a gap, liberal creates an artificial gap. You know, but it is what it is. So, but for us here, we'll always keep a fair balance and proportional. It is dangerous when the media doesn't play her part. When media personnel take side, yes, people say, oh, yeah, it was a time. Okay, you take it. Now, those who were the mouthpiece, those who were blowing this bullhorn, this trumpet, they are having the real headache now. They are explaining over and over and over because they just didn't do what they're supposed to do. So they are taking all of the Tylenol, the painkiller. They are having a headache. People are blaming, oh, you tell us to do this. You are, well, you all grown up. You need to be independent. You need to have your own voice. Do not allow people to manipulate you, to say, do this. Give it a study, give it a thought, ask all of the questions. I can just tell you, say, go do this, and you go do it. Hey, Mr. Logan, it's good to have you here. Good evening. Mr. Prince Double from the Boiler's Room. Good evening. How you doing, brother? Thank you for all what you do for the community as well. So it's 8:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every good thing must come to an end. I will be back here again this Sunday by God's will, and same time, same network. Please leave your comments, your suggestions, whatever you think that we are falling back, that we need to do to enhance, to improve in terms of our conversation here. To do not hesitate, put it there. We'll go back, usually and read it. If there's something that you requires, you want to send us inbox as well, feel free to do that. And we're not going to take it personal. And that's not what we're supposed to do. Have a pleasant evening. By God's will, we'll be right back here again at some point in time. Good night from my end.
Hello, listeners. This is Mazola, the lover boy. I'd like to invite you to this exciting program. It is called Dancing for Jesus. It is intended to play beautiful, inspirational music to help you turn your life to God. Join me on every Sunday from 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is our way of showing appreciation to God for the good things He has done for us and continue to do. Don't miss this opportunity. Join Mazola Gizi on every Sunday from 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the program Dancing for Jesus. Please be there because I will be here to rock it up for you. I just wanna dance.